But spiritually, we all have a higher purpose. Or else, why be here? Why have this life to endure? Because it's not necessarily pleasant. It's not like we get to only enjoy things and things work out all the time. So in this video, I'm going to take you through how I found my spiritual purpose and how you can do the same in 10 minutes. And this spiritual purpose, I think, is a lot more difficult to find than a sense of what you're good at. And what you're good at is normally only a part of your purpose. Your feelings will tell you what's authentic to you. And that was screaming my purpose to me by following the feeling. Identifying your authenticity and what makes you who you are is how you find your purpose. We believe in a lot of our cases as ego beings that we have to have certain things which will allow us to do what we want to do, and then we can be ultimately the version of the person we want to be. So I'm going to give you a framework at the end of this video, and I'm going to go into detail about how you can identify this purpose within you and how you can start living towards it. And it follows this one framework, which is be, do, have, as opposed to have, do, be. Now I'll make a lot more sense of that in a bit. For those of you who haven't been here for the other two videos, as a part of this playlist explaining how I got from spiritual awakening to conscious manifester, which is the ultimate goal, make sure to go and take a look at them. The first video over here, this is the spiritual awakening, what it was like to actually have an awakening, what the experience was like. And it's not necessarily a completely pleasant one, but I know that it has the most intense meaning, and that's why I shared it there, my personal awakening. Part 2 is what happens after the awakening. As much as everything gets so much better, there's this dip, and I call it the crash in spirituality. So having this crash is designed to help you build a more rigid way to understanding 1, your purpose, 2, how to be a conscious manifester, and 3, overall, how to share spirituality. And if you want to see that, you can watch it over here. This video is part 3. Discovering your spiritual purpose. So in this video, I'm going to take you through how I found my spiritual purpose and how you can do the same in 10 minutes. And the last video coming out on Friday is on how to become a conscious manifester with all of the information from these 3 videos. So if you don't want to miss out on seeing how to become a conscious manifester, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to turn your notifications on so that you don't miss out on when that video gets released. Understanding and learning what your purpose is really how you become a conscious manifester. It's how you upgrade to the next spiritual level to start pulling in the things that are going to reflect that. Now, one way we know that manifestation isn't conscious is when it's not aligned, and that's based on our authentic reflections around us. So what had happened was I'd gone through the crash, my manifestations stopped being what I wanted them to be. And when you're in the right state authentically and energetically and spiritually, the things you want to manifest are aligned with that level of authenticity because you are aligned with your own authenticity. It's all based on frequency. It's got nothing to do with the value of things in this world. And how I found my purpose was after that crash. And in the process of the crash and healing from that, I was building solid, rigid ways to understand spiritual concepts. So what starts to happen is our emotional side starts to take a knock. When you have your spiritual awakening, it's extremely easy to control your emotions. So for me, one of the ones I did struggle with was anger, and I'd get frustrated by things easily, and that was an automatic response that I had. But once I had my spiritual awakening, anger wasn't so difficult to handle. But throughout the process, as time goes on, and I went into what I call the crash, that got really difficult to process out of again. So anger became a lot more easy to get stuck in. There are other emotions along that line too that you don't necessarily want to experience, but you do experience. And in spirituality, we call dealing with the blockages to that control shadow work. So when you deal with those blocks, you're doing shadow work. Your ego will always find a new shadow to live in. Now, a shadow is literally just where your awareness and consciousness is not. So if you are focused on something, on spiritual growth, let's say you focused on not letting yourself get angry, it might go live in jealousy. Ego will find its new home there. And so what happened for me was I built back all of these rigid things to help me with each emotion. And that's how you build back up from the crash, which helps you identify this purpose. And so what happened for me was I was growing this way back to the spiritual high through anger as a good example. And the ways I'd done that was by realizing, hold on, getting angry has no purpose. I'm just not seeing the full picture. These are like points I would remind myself of because each one of them had this power hit and would take anger away instantly. But slowly it wears off and I need to add a bit more, add a bit more, add a bit more. And so as I was going through dealing with these emotional processes, I'd find new ways each time and add it into one picture. It was like puzzle pieces to deal with anger. And so I have like 30 different phrases that I have on my phone dealing with purely the emotion of anger. When it comes up and I can't just get out of it, I read through them, I process that again, I reinstill that emotional connection with these solutions, and it makes it really like strong. It's a pillar of strength to dealing with anger, and I have that with other emotions. So that's how you build back from the crash, and in that you find your purpose. Before we get into be, do, then have, I'd love to hear from you guys what you think spirituality doesn't speak about enough on social media. So if you get your spiritual information from YouTube like this, or TikTok, or Instagram, what do you think should be covered in a lot more detail? Something like shadow work or how to manifest properly. What do you think it is? Let me know in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe so you can see when that video comes out. Now, I know how exciting it is once you tap into spiritual concepts and spirituality and you start to feel some level of connectedness with the world, and you want your purpose to align with that. For me, what had happened was I was speaking to friends. I would help friends through bad spaces. Family members, I'd be there when they needed me. Now, I'm not saying that I was at everyone's disposal, but when there was something that they brought to me and said, bro, I'm really worrying about this, for example, I'm worrying about my relationship, I would just feed that spiritual, those lessons that I had learned, those ways to deal with the emotions, I would feed that into the conversation. And it always led to my friends saying, wow, you should really teach this. Like, I'd pay good money for this. Do life coaching with this. I had all of these suggestions. When I was sharing, I also found that for me, getting back to that spiritual high didn't take building these rigid things all the time. Just by sharing the concepts, I would snap back in. And the more I would share these concepts purely in service of others, I would feel like I was getting back to that vortex. And it made me realize something important. I was speaking to my mom, who studied a lot of neuroscience, and she explained how habits are formed and what's happening physically in the brain is neural pathways are being developed, like a new one of those little gray worms that is actually being formed when you force something. Now, by force, I mean, let's say you want to develop a habit of remembering easier and not having to constantly look at a diary. So you want to build your memory. And what would happen is, if you have a set of practices that you do for 21 days, that develops the new neural pathway. And then if you keep doing it for a further 21 days, then that starts to solidify the habit, and another 21 days really sets it in motion and it becomes your identity. So this neural pathway is used all the time. Now, obviously that's layman's terms, and I'm no neuroscientist or neurobiologist, but it made me understand something. We have automatic processes in our brains. So when we think of something or behave in a certain way, if there's a neural pathway that's been there forever and we've developed it years ago and we still use it, it's instantaneous. We get from A to Z really quick. But when we slow down and experience the emotional side of things, what starts to happen is we get upliftment, or we get pulled down from certain mental behaviors, habits that are formed in the brain. So I share that to express this point. I found when I slowed down and I spoke about it, because your brain's always faster than your mouth, things started picking up for me in terms of energy. I would feel it a lot more intensely, and that became my ultimate goal. Who doesn't want to live in that vortex? Who doesn't want to be in that spiritual energy and spiritual high? And what happened was I started feeling this betterment by speaking to my friends. They would get benefits and so would I. It was like this mutually growing experience, and that was screaming my purpose to me by following the feeling. That's part of that model I told you about being, then doing, then having. So part of that model I'm about to take you through, being, doing, having, be, do, have instead of have, do, be, it includes this point about authenticity. How do we know what's authentic to us? The compass we've been given to know what's true to who we are is emotion. Your feelings will tell you what's authentic to you. You will feel right doing certain things or being a certain version of yourself. And so what that taught me was following the feeling, follow your heart, follow your gut. All of those messages that people share with us as we grow up are actually so true. So getting now into that model of be, do, have, and not have, do, be. What is the fundamental difference? Well, for those of you who've been raised Christian, you might have heard the phrase, love God above all and your neighbor as yourself. What does that actually mean? The God that it's referring to, and this is just my belief, is that it's that good, loveness, peace, and what I call the compass within you. They say the discerning spirit. I just think it's that sense of navigation within you to know to do something or not based on feeling. And when you love that within you above all, that you can access peace and happiness all at once within you, the ability to feel those good things is what we should serve within us. And that to me is loving God above all, and then love the same thing in everyone else. And to love something is to serve something. So when we serve that goodness within people so that they can feel great, that felt like such alignment with who I am. And to be that authentically is to share. And that's how this YouTube channel was actually born. It was called Awaken when I started it 3 years ago. And it was to help people understand the awakening process. And I saw Aaron Doughty and I wanted to do the same thing. I ended up now working with Aaron Doughty and Victor Odo on building this channel. And that's why it's now called Manifest with Mitch. It's come into what I feel passionate about authentically, and that's manifestation. I mean, who doesn't want to have the best possible life? So that authenticity is the first and most important part of finding your spiritual purpose. And how you're going to do it in 10 minutes is through these steps. Understand your authenticity is number one. What you feel is who you are. And by serving that feeling first, you will get a clear understanding of what's meant for you. Because if you follow that feeling, ideas are going to flow into that space. Just like when I followed the feeling of wanting to help people and wanting to stay in that awesome high energy, that made me feel good. And serving that authenticity got a response from everyone saying, hey, do this like more. And it was a natural pull towards creating this channel and doing exactly this. Step 2 is understanding this model. To be, then to do, then to have is the opposite of what we taught we must do in this world. We believe in a lot of our cases as ego beings that we have to have certain things which will allow us to do what we want to do, and then we can be ultimately the version of the person we want to be. We think to ourselves, I need to have a lot of money which will allow me to go on many holidays, and then I can be the traveler I want to be. If we translate that and say I'm going to be the version of me first, this is where we start giving instructions to the universe. Remember how I said your true identity is your feelings? That is the being that you have to be. Emotionally, the version of you that you want. This sets certain frequencies in motion. You start to tell the universe, I'm being this now. And it will say, okay, and it's a frequency like on a radio when you change to a certain station. Then the universe says to you, okay, no problem. We will give you a reflection of that to support that idea. Because the universe supports you unconditionally. It is giving you all the time. You are already manifesting. Now we want to turn that into masterful manifestation. I'm going to get into that in a very little bit. So once we be energetically and emotionally the version of us that we want to be, feel like a traveler. What does it feel like in your imaginative eye to go and travel all the time? What does that feel like in you? Does it feel like a free, connected feeling? Then allow yourself to feel that now with everything the way it is. Allow that feeling to be your identity. What that's going to do is help give you the space to do the things that that version of you does. So you're really confirming to the universe energetically and on a frequency level exactly what your intentions are. And then you will have the opportunities to do that. Then it will bring about the opportunities to earn money doing it, or to have the money first. Maybe it's a lotto. I don't know what it is for you to give you that reflection, but it will be an exact reflection of that energetic, authentic self you choose to be. A lot of us don't always know what it is that we want to be. Spiritually, energetically, our purpose, we don't always know what that is. But it doesn't have to be in a box. So let go of the idea that your purpose is already a defined term. Something I battled with. I don't fit well into the general crowd. I don't fit well in a box. It just doesn't work for me to have this thing where I operate in that space. So for me, I don't have a title. I like sharing spirituality, and that's my authentic purpose. Allow that freedom to be part of what might be your purpose. And so that's how we start tapping into, in 10 minutes, what is meant for us. That authentic high frequency energy is going to allow you to start manifesting consciously. Meaning you go, I want to experience this. Get into that energy and allow it to come. That is the fourth and final video of this playlist, of this series about my spiritual awakening to conscious manifester. And if you don't want to miss out on the next video, which is on Friday, about how to be a conscious manifester with all of this information, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And if you want to join the Telegram group where I'm going to start sending regular thoughts of spirituality that might just be in synchronicity with what you need to hear on the day, take a look in the description. You will see a link there that says Telegram group. And hopefully I see you over there. Thanks so much for all of you who are still here. I can't wait to hear your comments, hear your thoughts. And if you like this video, leave me a thumbs up. I'll see you in the next video and on my subscribers list. Mad love and light.